For today's photography assignment revealed, I'm sharing a cover story I photographed in Bangladesh for the New York Times. The story uncovers the reality behind Bangladesh's booming garment industry, violent crackdowns on protesting workers, poverty-level wages, and the immense global demand for cheap clothes that keep these factories up and running. If you're new here, I'm Justin Mott. I've been based in Vietnam for nearly 20 years, working both as an editorial and commercial photographer. I've shot over 100 assignments around the world for the New York Times, and my channel is less about gear talk and more about real talk. It's about helping pros and amateur photographers improve their photography skills. If that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing. So as a photojournalist, my job isn't just to take good or pretty pictures. Yes, sometimes when I do travel stories, it's about showing how beautiful a place is, but when I do investigative work like I'm about to talk to you about today, assignments like this, it's far more complex than that. Access is only the beginning, and even once I have access, being inside, I still need to be fair, and I need to be objective. I need to create a sequence of images that tell the story accurately, and I also have to do this visually at a high level for my clients. And it needs to be powerful enough to get people to stop, look, and read the story. So that means I need to be trained as a journalist. I need to understand journalism ethics. But it means overall I need to be specific, intentional, and accurate. I have to do research. I have to work with good fixers. I have to ask myself important questions like which factories truly matter to this story, which villages are impacted by the garment industry, what does life look like not just inside the factory, if I can get in, but what does it look like in the workers' homes and communities? Who are these people that are working here? Who are these people that the writer interviewed for this story? Are they fathers, mothers, sons, daughters? And how do they live in their daily lives under these conditions? One of my subjects for this story is a man who's been jailed and had his life threatened for speaking up for wanting better working conditions. So photographing him isn't just about access, which was hard finding him, it's about portraying his reality and how it relates to the story. So I'll lean into things like shadows, using light to create portraits that carry the same heaviness and fear that he lives with. This man had his life threatened by the government. So light becomes a part of the story. It becomes where I start with the story. It conveys the darkness that he feels, the darkness of the industry's underbelly. And then another one of the main subjects for this story, he's a community leader, devoted to enriching the lives of the people around him. Religion is central to who he is. So I photographed him not only at home, but also at prayer with others. Showing him as a devout Muslim matters because faith shapes his role in the community. That's the responsibility I carry on assignments like this. This isn't travel photography where I wander and look for pretty pictures. It's not generic, it's focused. So if an area that's part of the story look clean and thriving, I can ignore that just because the narrative is about poverty. Writers and photographers sometimes show up with agendas, with an idea of what something is going to be, and you can't. You can do that as an amateur photographer, fine, but as a journalist, I can't do that. I have to be fair and, more importantly, accurate. I mean, that wasn't the case. These areas turned out to be quite impoverished. I mean, this kid just sitting here in front of this littered sort of body of this littered pond here, I think really summed that up quite well. And then I look for things like, okay, yeah, at nighttime in the factory, it's gonna have a little bit more of a mood, or at sunrise. So try to get shots of the exterior to sort of paint that picture. And yeah, accuracy is non-negotiable. I mean, sometimes you get a great picture and you're excited about it, but if it's not accurate to the story, if you weren't being fair, you have to can that picture. It's hard because, yeah, you're judged by your visuals, but that's the job. And every frame needs to build a story. I'm looking for one hero shot that's gonna get people to click on the article, but back then, and often on my assignments, I'm looking to build a story as a whole. Back then, the New York Times was doing a lot of slideshows, so I'm looking for like 15 pictures that tell this story, bring people to Bangladesh, show the conditions in the factory, show people in the villages, portraits and everyday life of the main subjects that were interviewed for the story. And in addition to doing all that, there's a ton of other obstacles. They're constant. Immigration grilled me because, what are foreigners coming into Bangladesh for with a camera? That can be tricky. Luckily, I got in. My fixer was inexperienced. I was supposed to have one fixer for the story, but he wasn't available, and I got a junior fixer who was a lot more junior than I was originally told. Factories slammed doors in our faces, and one of our subjects was even hiding from the police, and I had to find him. So imagine that. A guy who's never been to a country that sticks out like a sore thumb has to find a person that police are looking for. And sometimes I just keep pushing, or you have to keep pushing, oftentimes, until you're finally able to get a yes. A lot of no's before you get a yes. Assignments like this and doing investigative work always reminds me of this scene from the movie Spy Game, and it's relevant because, rest in peace, Robert Redford, great actor. But the movie was about the CIA, and it was Robert Redford and Brad Pitt, and so I guess I'm Brad Pitt for this, obviously. But the scene is great. It's Redford tells Pitt to I don't know it exactly, but I remember Redford telling Pitt, they're in another country and he had to He's like, I want you standing in that balcony, blah, 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 for a certain amount of time. Like, basically, it was just figure it out. And then a few minutes later, they pan up and Pitt's on the balcony, like, sipping an espresso, talking to a woman. And that's really what being a photojournalist is. It's like, people don't care about excuses. Editors don't care. They just want you to find a way. Here's the story, figure out the visuals. That's what it feels like. Editors don't hire excuse people. I can't come back empty-handed. And eventually, enough doors open. I spend time inside factories, inside homes, with families, with communities. Some things work better than others. Some time investments are more fruitful than others. Sometimes things get a little sketchy. Some of the areas we were in are starting to draw too much attention. Again, it's just hard not to stick out. You know, as a foreigner, I'd be in these little villages and people would just surround me. It was nice and friendly, but like a little bit suffocating, and also just a lot of attention coming at me. So eventually, someone from the authorities might catch on and we had to get out of there. So in the end, I felt like I built a series of images that both showed the struggles and the humanity, people fighting for dignity, trying to provide for their families, living within an industry that both sustains and exploits them. So that was it. This is kind of the work as an investigative journalist. I think my point here was to show you some of these images, and hopefully images that tell a well-rounded and accurate story. But I also want people to know that it's hard. You know, getting a story like this, the nice picture isn't the hard part. It's hard to get access. It's hard to get the nice picture within the context of the story, the pressure of the story, and everything else that goes along with it. So yeah, that's my little story for today. I hope you guys found this insightful. I like to let you guys into my little world. Let me know in the comment section if you want more episodes like this. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Before I go, don't forget I have a few slots left for my Central Vietnam Photography Workshop in December. 2 slots left. It's an all-inclusive storytelling workshop open to all levels of photographers interested in all genres of photography. If you can't make it all the way to Vietnam, I do offer one-on-one online classes, portfolio reviews, 1-hour session, and long-term mentorship program. All that and more is available at askmott.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to have a wonderful day.